It is 2025 and one of India's largest e-commerce companies still runs mostly on cash. Meesho, the startup that grew from WhatsApp resellers into a nationwide shopping app, is heading to the public market soon. And its IPO could be among the most closely watched listings of this year. You see, by last year, that is 2024, Meesho had nearly 175 annual transacting users, which was up by 25% from the previous year. And it was handling nearly 4 million orders a day. What's more, most of that growth did not come from the metro cities. It came from Tier 2 and Tier 3 India. Buyers who do not see e commerce as a default habit, but as a small leap of faith each time they click order. And that is where Meesho's story turns interesting. Because while India's e commerce giants have spent years trying to move users towards prepaid and UPI, Meesho leaned hard into cash on delivery and it won. Its IPO filing says that more than 75% of its orders are still paid in cash. Of course, this has helped Meesho reach an audience that nobody else could. But as Meesho prepares to list, the trust that it built by letting customers pay cash on delivery is also what investors flag as a risk. So the question now is, can the e commerce giant shift those very users and the habits of an entire market towards prepaid without breaking the trust that built its empire? Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Nigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rachel Varghese and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 23rd of October. To understand Meesho's cash story, you have to leave the metros. Head to Kanpur, to Rajkot, to Guntur, the markets where India's value internet lives. These are not high ticket one click shoppers. These are people who might earn weekly, who often share a smartphone in the family, and who, for years, have learned to be cautious with money that moves through a screen. These are towns where online shopping still feels new and reliability matters more than speed. Plus, card and UPI penetration remains low in these areas. For example, Meesho's average order value is about 315 to 350 rupees. That is a kurta or a kitchen container set, not a flat screen TV. And that small ticket economy runs on two words, which is let's see it first. An IIM Ahmedabad study found that roughly 65% of India's e commerce transactions in early 2024 were still COD or cash on delivery. And that is not because people cannot go digital, it is because cash means control. You pay when you trust. By leaning into that behavior, Meesho didn't just sell products, it built credibility. Its social commerce roots, resellers, WhatsApp groups, neighborhood influencers, amplified that trust. So while every other platform raced to eliminate COD, Meesho doubled down on it. And that gamble worked. It brought millions of first time online shoppers into the fold. So COD was not really a crutch, it was Meesho's go to market engine, the quiet force that turned hesitation into habit. But that same engine that powers trust also strains the machine. More on this in the next segment. The math tells the story. COD orders succeeded 75% of the time and prepaid orders 98%, which means 1 in 4 cash orders fail. A refused delivery, a wrong address, a last minute change of mind. Each failure carries a cost: packaging, shipping, and the dreaded return to origin logistics. Essentially, it adds up to thousands of wasted trips and idle inventory waiting to circle back. And even when orders succeed, cash introduces its own drag. Delivery agents have to collect the money, record it, and transfer it back. And sometimes this loop breaks. For example, earlier this year, Meesho filed a police complaint against 35 delivery vendors for not remitting the cash that they had collected. This is a symptom of what happens when thousands of crores of money moves physically across hundreds of cities. And that right here is being flagged as a top investor worry ahead of the IPO. Basically, high COD shares ties up working capital and muddles cash flow visibility. So, you see, it is a strange kind of a risk. Not digital fraud, but this friction of the old world inside a new age company. So, while COD drives Meesho's growth, it also drags on its profitability. The more it scales, the heavier this load becomes. And Meesho knows this. That is why it isn't trying to win the COD game anymore. It is trying to outgrow it. More on this in the next segment. In August 2025, Your Story reported that Meesho teamed up with Razorpay to re-engineer how its users pay. The move is both tactical and symbolic. A startup built on cash is now trying to teach millions of small town shoppers how to trust the invisible money that they cannot hold. Now, at first glance, it looks simple. Integrate Razorpay, add a few payment options, call it transformation. But this isn't just a product upgrade. It is behavioral economics in motion. Here is what Meesho is actually doing. With Razorpay, it is building a native checkout that keeps the entire prepaid experience inside the app. No redirects, no extra OTP screens, no handoff to a confusing bank page. The logic is very clear. Every click is a chance to lose a customer. Second, Meesho is trying to neutralize risk perception. It is promising instant refunds for cancelled or returned orders, an attempt to recreate the emotional safety of COD. If you can see your refund before you start missing the cash, maybe you will pay digitally next time. Third, the company is adding micro incentives like Razorpay powered cashbacks and small credits for first time prepaid users. In Meesho's data driven language, these are trust nudges, not discounts. Each successful prepaid transaction is supposed to chip away at the COD reflex. It is an elegant plan, of course, but a fragile one too. Because the assumption beneath it is that behavior follows convenience. That if digital payment becomes easier, shoppers will abandon cash. And that might not be entirely true. For many of Meesho's customers, COD is not just about inconvenience or app friction. It is about control. Cash lets them decide when an order becomes real. No amount of sleek UX or cashback can replicate that emotional leverage. So, the bigger question is not whether Meesho can build prepaid rails. It already has. It is whether it can redefine trust in a way that still feels local, familiar, and human. And if it pulls this off, Meesho's Razorpay partnership could do more than just cut logistic costs. It could reset how India's value e-commerce market pays. And if it fails, the company might discover that technology cannot outcode culture.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings, and a full subscription offers daily, long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CN.